We're really seriously doing this bit? Seriously, we're doing it. We are. All right. No, it's no problem. I'll do it. Ho, 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 and all that. Time now for Dr. Lady's holiday gift-giving guide for monsters. You know what? I don't want to say holiday. No, I know. I'm just going to say Christmas gift-giving guide. All right? It's a Christmas gift list for monsters. That's what we're doing here. I don't care if it's politically correct. It's dumb to say holiday. I mean, everybody's going to know what holiday we're talking about. Nobody's going to watch this and think, gee, I wonder what holiday they mean. Arbor Day, probably. No one's going to say that. They know we mean Christmas, so let's just say Christmas. Time now for Dr. Lady's Christmas gift-giving guide for monsters. Now, you know, you can always pick up some Old Spice for your grandpa or some bubble bath for your old Aunt Gertrude and whatever overpriced thing has been heavily promoted the most on television in the last few weeks for the children. But what about the horrible evil monsters on your list? Huh? What about the horrible evil monsters? Yeah, so it's a little harder to shop for them, huh? So all the creeps and creatures who thrill you at Halloween, well, if they're on your Christmas list this year, here's a few gift ideas for when you're shopping down at your local mall ward or whatever. Alright? Oh, and by the way, if you do shop for a lot of monsters at Christmas, take my advice. Don't even bother asking the sales staff which aisle the corpse worm repellent or the Sasquatch flea powder or the eggnog flavored embalming fluid is on. They never know. They never know. Anyway, let's start with a famous monster, the Frankenstein monster. Yeah, now, for a guy who's torn a lot of people limb from limb, old Frankenstein really isn't such a bad guy, or at least he doesn't mean to be. It's just that he's, well, painfully aware of how awkward and unattractive he is, and he's not very good at expressing himself in ways that don't involve screaming and violent fits. So, you know, he's kind of like any average adolescent dude. But the monster's electrically charged system seems to have eliminated any real need for food, but he's been known to enjoy a simple meal, you know, bread and meat. He enjoys that anyway, right? So you just call him friend. He loves that. Call him friend and share your holiday meal with him there, and you'll win him over. Just be sure he doesn't catch sight of anything like, oh, you know, chestnuts roasted on an open fire or anything like that, because really, you never know how the guy's going to react to open fire. He's not crazy about that. So now, of course, he's always in need of a new suit of clothes, but even the big and tall and blocky stores don't always have his size. So let's get right on to the next monster on the list here. What about a werewolf, huh? You got a werewolf on your Christmas shopping list? Listen, everybody thinks it's cute to give a werewolf a set of combs and brushes or like a big super-sized bottle of styling gel for Christmas. But trust me, he's about as bored with all the hair-related gifts as the average dad is with socks and neckties. Alright? So this year, think about it a little bit more, you know? Think it through a little bit. Because remember, the wolf man is human most of the time. Right? He only gets hairy like maybe a couple, 3 times a month. So he's probably already got a closet full of unopened hair grooming stuff left over from the last 30 or 40 or 90 Christmases that he ain't used. So instead, why not give him some strong animal tranquilizers, maybe in a nice gift wrap package, you know, that he can use on himself on nights when the full moon's coming. Huh? Now I know you'd think he would have already thought of that himself, but I have watched a large number of werewolf movies, and it's surprising how seldom the werewolves think of that type of thing. So that might be helpful there. Now, most of the werewolves feel pretty rotten about themselves too because of the terrible things they do while they're in wolf form. So maybe a nice book on how to improve your self-esteem. Maybe that would be good for a werewolf, huh? Now, sometimes he can use a flea collar, but I take it easy with the flea stuff because he's kind of sensitive about that. Alright, now let's start this time with Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. Now, if those guys are on your shopping list, you probably have a very colorful circle of friends, eh? You probably know that Jason and Michael are both especially fond of any kind of shiny objects, particularly sharp ones like knives, machetes, axes, harpoons, picks, stuff like that, spears, corkscrews, steak forks, whatever. But if you indulge them and you give them that kind of stuff, you risk having to live with a lot of guilt later on when they end up misusing them, which they inevitably will. Yeah. So for that reason, I recommend going another route. Maybe get them something to wear. All right, they can always use clothes, both of those guys. Now, Michael seems to like coveralls best, and they both tend to prefer dark, drab kind of colors, but neither one of them is the least bit picky about what they wear. And, well, since they're constantly both getting stabbed and set on fire and sprayed with bullets every place they go anyway, you can be sure they can always use some new threads, right? And Jason, with that hockey mask of his there, is looking awful beat up these days, so maybe he'd appreciate a nice new one from the local sporting goods store. Sure. As for Michael Myers, though, he seems to have an endless supply of those white Captain Kirk masks, so I figure he's got a wholesale source on those, so forget about that. Let's just move on to another monster. What if you got to buy a present for Pumpkinhead? Yeah, Pumpkinhead. Well, this one should be obvious. For crying out loud, get the poor thing a meal. Jeez, he looks like he's starving. I mean, he could almost be a supermodel. He's like a skeleton. Yeesh. The guy's like skin and bones, you know? I mean, he's like a hairless, noseless Taylor Swift. He's just bones. So get the poor thing a meal. I mean, if he wasn't a supernatural monster, he would have starved to death years ago. Now, I recommend sending some groceries. Plenty of pumpkins, of course. He likes those. Directly to Pumpkinhead. Because if you get him restaurant gift certificates, the restaurant employees will not be happy to see him when he shows up to use them. That's right. That's because he is notorious for being a lousy tipper. Now, let's start now with the Phantom of the Opera. Now, if antique violins and plastic surgery are out of your price range, no problem. How about some sheet music? Classical, of course. Classical sheet music, he likes that. Or since he makes his home in the sewers, maybe a nice crate full of room deodorizers and air fresheners would be a good gift for the Phantom of the Opera, right? And if you happen to live near a magic shop, don't forget, he loves rope tricks too. Yeah, but one thing, I wouldn't get him any of the stuff based on the Andrew Lloyd Webber version of his story, because I think he's a little ticked off about the fact that he's not getting any royalties from that stuff. So leave that stuff alone, all right? Let's move on to the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Everybody likes that guy. He's a difficult guy to shop for. For one thing, he spends most of his time underwater, so there's no point in giving him like soap on a rope or anything from the men's fragrances department. That won't work. He also doesn't need like shaving supplies or bedroom slippers or car polish or any of that stuff that humans normally buy for each other. So, well, as far as the Creature goes, he does like ogling attractive women, human women, at that. So I'm thinking get him one of those swimsuit calendars with the pretty girls on it. You gotta like that, right? He likes pretty girls, sure. Just be sure that before you give it to him, you have all of the pages laminated so that it's waterproof, so he can put it up in some grotto or cave or something underwater. All right? Make sure you do that. And that should be good. Either that, or you could make a deal with your local aquarium to get an extra large container of whatever they feed their fish. He'd probably like that all right, too. But whatever you do, don't give him one of those novelty singing fish wall plaques, what goes on the wall and sings. He's a little creeped out by those. He is. Join me again at some random time for another installment of Dr. Lady's Christmas Gift Guide for Monsters. Yeah. Okay, well, since we gave up on trying to make the tree 3 times this size by putting all those other pieces Wolfie found in it, we do still need something on top.
What about a star? I think there's a big star topper.
You think we can get away with just putting the star on top? Right.
Yeah, I think it'll be all right.
Call Wolfie, tell him to bring the star for on top of this tree.
Hey, Wolfie, bring the star that goes on top of the tree in here.
Okay.
Got it. Right there.
Wolfie, that is not a star.
Oh, but it looks good.
But where's the star?
It looks good.
That's a rotted corpse head. That's not a star.
Well, it's close.
But it's not a star.
Ain't that fun, stars.
Oh, I forgot. He's got a thing about 5-pointed stars. We should have known better than to send a werewolf for a star.
We should know better to send Wolfie for anything.
What about an angel or a horse? What about a banana or a cow or a blender? Or maybe some doorknobs with some festive
How about
ribbon.
anything? How about we just leave the rotted skull?
Or we could just leave the rotted skull. Are we almost done with this? We are, okay. Season's bleedings once again, horror fans. Time for another installment of Dr. Lady's gift-giving suggestion suggestion list. Do we have an official? We don't even have an official title for this bit. Why are we even doing this? All right. Time for another installment of whatever this is, where we tell you some ideas for things to get the monsters on your Christmas list. Assuming, of course, you buy Christmas presents for monsters. And hey, who doesn't? Right? All right. Now, what about Hannibal Lecter? Now, he's basically a human being. He's not like a supernatural monster exactly, but he's also a gourmet. So, you know, some cookware or some nice state-of-the-art, high-class kitchen-type utensils are always appropriate for him. But if you want to encourage him to develop healthier eating habits, I'd say buy him a vegetarian cookbook. Yeah. Of course, when I say healthier eating habits, I don't mean healthier for him. I mean healthier for everybody else, basically. All right. Now, another popular weirdo that might be on your list if you buy a Christmas gift for monsters is the Invisible Man. Another hard guy to shop for. Really hard to surprise that guy. Yeah, but I'll tell you, you can give the Invisible Man most of your traditional guy-type gifts, like your cologne, your socks, your slippers, your neckties, your bathrobes, all that kind of stuff. That's fine. But thing is, it's no use trying to surprise the guy. No use at all. I mean, if you thought it was tough hiding the kids' presents someplace where they wouldn't sneak a peek prior to Christmas, you literally ain't seen nothing yet when it comes to the Invisible Man. Because he might be right there in the room with you watching you wrap the presents and you'd never know it. You know? He might have been there at the mall with you when you were doing your shopping. He might even be here right now looking over my shoulder as I'm trying to read this and do this bit. But, well, I'll tell you one thing about the Invisible Man. He is absolutely the worst at photobombing. He claims he's good at it, but nah, I don't think so. Now, another popular monstrosity that might be on your list. What if one of your friends is Freddy Krueger? You know him? Sure. Now, some folks think Freddy don't like Christmas, but I think he does. I mean, he's always wearing red and green, right? Wearing an old Christmas sweater. Now, the fact that he spends most of his time in other people's dreams means he can pretty well dream up just about anything he wants, and that makes him hard to shop for. So, I say, buy him a nice book of horror stories. Doesn't matter whether they're fiction or whether they're true life, you know, horrible, gruesome, scary stories. Freddy will like them because, for one thing, he can enjoy reading them, and then they'll inspire him, you know. They'll give him a bunch of ideas for new ways to give people nightmares, new things to scare him with, so he'll like that, huh? So that's pretty much all I got to say about Freddy. And by the way, if you're gonna buy a Christmas gift for Godzilla, if you got Godzilla on your list, well, if you're gonna knit him a scarf or a pair of mittens, I hope you got a really early start, huh? Really early start.